Do you guys mind introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Mark Hope. I'm the president at EAVX.
And I'm James Doetsch. I'm the Director of Business Development at EAVX.
All right, so let's just start there. EAVX. What does that mean? Mr. Mark Hope, have you ever had this question?
We get it all the time, and it's a mouthful for certain, but it's Electric Autonomous Vehicle Intersections.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I really like that. And what I'm just trying to figure out, why should I trust you guys? Why should I take you seriously? How long have you guys been in the industry?
Oh, in total, the parent company, probably our brands have 70 plus years of in existence, and then EAVX has been around for about 4 years now. Most of us came out of the OEM world, pass car, and then some in the I don't know, how would you explain it, James? The tier one and Bosches and AVLs of the world. So we have a broad experience in electrification, automotive level development work mixed with some truck and body development.
Sounds like the perfect combination for a commercial electric vehicle. Set of expertise, guys. I love it. James, what's your role in that group?
Yeah, so as Mark said, the interesting thing is that we're augmenting the capabilities of what exists at all of our other business units in J.B. Poindexter. And so we're not doing anything that they're already doing. We're doing all the other stuff that is necessary based on what's going on in the market. And so we have a really unique opportunity to use the expertise that Mark highlighted and from more the automotive space and the product development space to really go out and evaluate technologies, evaluate partnerships with people in the space that are coming up, and really understanding what it means and how we can work that in with everything that we're doing on the commercial vehicle side of things and the upfit side of things to ultimately provide our customers with a really full solution that they can use, increase their efficiency, and really have a solution to work with instead of having to put a bunch of pieces together and figure it out on their own. So we're working very closely with customers, and that's how we go through the product development process. We use them at every turn to get feedback and make sure what we produce is what they actually need and how they're going to use it.
And I've had a front row seat to this personally. I've seen how the group works, and I think a lot of people take the role an EAVX or a JB Pico company plays in this process for granted. And where I go with that is I started working with this group on the ICE side of things. And I would just put a call in, turn it over, come back, and it flips to EV, and I do the same thing. And it takes a couple extra weeks to get a quote back. And I'm asking myself, why does it take so long? Can you guys explain really the role an upfitter or a bodybuilder plays in this process and why it's important for the general population to understand kind of that role?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Ryan, I mean, you've been in this industry longer than I have. The completed vehicle, it doesn't really become its application until the body and the upfit gets to it. So cab chassis, strip chassis are designed to go across a wide berth of different types of applications, and those applications don't become real until you actually put the upfit to it. When it comes to an electrified chassis, there are some nuances to this in terms of being able for it to do what its intended function is in its application. So, payload, weight, what else? Just its ability to do what it does every single day. And there's some things that the upfit have to do to make sure that when you give it to a fleet customer or an end user, that it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's a little bit different than an ICE engine in its applications.
It's a system level approach. So as Mark was alluding to, there's a lot of factors now that are important because range is important, because payload's important, because batteries weigh a lot, because range is a problem everybody's worried about. And so as you're going through that process, you got to think about how the body impacts or the upfit impacts those things and how you can help alleviate some of it.
100%. And it's something I take for granted really from that boots on the ground front lines perspective. I just want to get a quote back. And a lot of times when I got the quote back on these specialty vehicles, things went wrong and things that you didn't anticipate when you followed that kind of status quo approach. And what I've really enjoyed about the process is you guys do exactly what you're saying you're going to do. We've sat down front and center and worked through these problems step by step. It takes time, but it takes that level of deep understanding of the chassis and the work that needs to be done that I love about this group. And really, like, to take it even a step further, what I like even more is how you real-time iterate these problems. So, Mark, can you explain kind of some of the things you've done around the country to really help close that feedback loop and continue to iterate from your perspective?
Yeah, I think, James kind of summed it up a little bit. There's some nuances with the EV chassis that, or any type of advanced chassis system. It doesn't really have to be EV. Part of our role is innovation within this area, right? So it's to help innovate truck bodies and accessories to match with the advanced chassis systems that are coming out. So we, even though electrification's in our name or EV's in our name, we're really focused on innovation in the space, and it doesn't always revolve around electrified chassis. But the way to do it is what we call a user design workshop. So we have what's called an open innovation model. So as you well know, because we partner with SHAED in a lot of this, you want to get in front of the end users and understand what their problems are first, and then start to create products and solutions to help. And that can enable from a partnership standpoint. So it might not be a product that we make. It may just be a partnership that we create. And then if you go down to the booth today, you see a lot of the things that we've developed over the course of the last 8 months, which was a direct result from these workshops. So we get customer feedback on the problems that they have, whether that's an ICE engine or an EV solution. Usually it's a little bit of both. And then we develop a system that'll help alleviate those problems, if not solve them directly, and then build that into a prototype and give it to the end user for them to evaluate. And then we iterate on that. So it's a continual process of just learning from the field experience, learning from customer feedback, and then developing things that are really hitting on the most important problems that they have to solve and create that kind of value chain for them.
No, wow, wonderfully put. Now you see why he's got the suit on and I'm over here in my polo. Man, well done, Mr. Marco. Oh, sorry, I did lose the serious tone there for a minute. You were flowing. So, James, let's get us back on track. Sitting there firsthand with you in these design workshop meetings was a real pleasure for me to see how your group can operate within one another. It wasn't just one perspective you guys brought to the table. We sat with 4 different views. And when I've been to these customer workshops, we're talking tier 1 accounts that are very seasoned and know what these customers need. So I've been in these. They're tough. These guys know what they want. They don't know the implications. Me personally, why don't we use the same material in an electric vehicle build? Those things. So what I was impressed about the workshop is how you boil it down. So when you boil down and rethink work, James, can you just describe kind of some of the fun things that have came out and that we're seeing that came to life out of these iterations, and you don't have to allude to like the details per se, but just your process.
Yeah, as Mark said, it's really, there's a lot of touch points. And so the first one is let's get down and understand what the problems are. But as we're going through what your problems are, we're not asking you what's your problem. We're asking you, how do you use the vehicle? How are you using it in your day-to-day work? And then naturally what's going to fall out is what the problems are. And as we're talking through that and the problems are becoming obvious, then we have a really talented industrial design team that's live sketching these things as we are talking. And it's
pretty cool to see.
It's fantastic to see.
And watching it, the turnaround, once you get that foundation layer established with your group, you guys turn designs, and I'm not going to set expectations online, but they definitely was a quick turn on the design and the ability to be nimble and innovate so quickly.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it for us, is that we want to make sure that, again, there's a lot of touch points with the customer, with the end user, and we want to get feedback from them as often and as quickly as possible. So at each of those steps, if we can, push things out quickly and be able to iterate quickly, like you said, then ultimately what that means is it shortens our development time. And when it comes to prototyping things, that means, okay, there is a build time that's inescapable, but then in the meantime, the development time is shrunk. And not only did you shrink it because you're moving fast, but you're incorporating feedback so often that you've shortened the time frame, but also confirm that you're going to have the right thing in that first prototype.
And that just long term, that saves so much time, headaches. It is taking the right, strong approach that you guys do. So when you're doing that, let's talk about a little bit of fun stuff now. So you're going through these things. Let's talk about some of the innovations that this has sprung from, or that you've seen that you've had the most fun with together. So I love seeing, because when I hear things about this side, you guys can glorify things that seem simple. So it could be down to a type of material, a type of latch, a type of lock. So when I'm in your seat, do you have to know everything about mobility? Do you have to know certain job applications? What type of markets do you have to be mindful of from a JB Pico perspective at the EAVX filter level?
Well, that's a bit of a challenge, because if you look at what we have at JB Poindexter, the power behind us, we do everything from light commercial all the way up to Class 7 dry freight refrigerated boxes. So every type of commercial work truck available, do we understand all of that? No, but like James pointed out, we augment kind of what the business units have. So we incorporate the business unit as much as we possibly can in these developments, because they know the customer base better than we do in most cases, and we're there to help create new products and new innovations for them. Example of a good one, and you kind of asked, and I'll do this from a material standpoint, is we electrically heat the glass on the Proxima for the walk-in van. And the reason we do that,
I love this. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, the reason we do it's actually pretty creative, even though it's a simple thing. It's in automotive products today, but it's not typically in a commercial walk-in van. And when you're with an EV in the wintertime and you have to we're regulated to defrost the glass, blowing heat up the glass probably isn't the most efficient thing you want to do. And if you're an end user with range and you're in the winter, being mindful of that energy efficiency is really, really important. So the team created electrically heated glass, but it's more than just, we say that it's pretty basic, but in typical automotive applications, there's a sensor that manages the heat of the glass. Well, we've found a way of eliminating that sensor. So we do it by feedback of the resistance of the wire, and that does a couple things. It eliminates the sensor from the system to keep it more cost effective, but then you can learn the glass over time. So basically, as the glass starts to wear or age, you can be careful about like how much heat you throw onto the windshield and crack it. So it's an intelligently electrically heated windshield, which from an EV perspective or a fuel cell perspective or any type of advanced chassis perspective is much more efficient in the winter and preserves that range that you have. That was one I thought pretty interesting thing that the team kind of came up with after talking to multiple different EV chassis providers and customers in the space.
And now, so I'll boil it down, because I'm coming back to you, James, on this thing, but it's down to the component of a windshield, the level of innovation that's occurring. And
Absolutely.
What I think is just wild is that applies to so many different segments, and you've created this flywheel of innovation at EAVX that can just spin it into each one of these business units and really start to thread the industry together.
And that's a very good point, is because of our central location in the company, it allows us to see across all the different business units, which means we get to see across low-speed vehicles all the way to Class 7, and a lot of the things that we're doing have application across all of those, which presents an interesting perspective from the end user, because we know that our end users have very mixed fleets that have ranges of vehicles, ranges of uses, and if you can offer almost a one-stop shop of here's all the different things that can be done by JB Pico as a whole family, now I can have more integrated and synergistic solutions, to use all the buzzwords possible, and to even further enable that, another area that EAVX has been really working in is to really make the bodies more intelligent and add technology, which brings us to VX Control. And what VX Control is, essentially, to boil it down, is it's a control system, hardware, to be able to add in different feature sets through software changes and software packages and components. So think about simple things. Backup cameras are everywhere. That we're not reinventing a backup camera, but we're taking what's people are already putting on in aftermarket as a starting point and saying we can simplify this and we can integrate it more smoothly. And oh, by the way, now that you have that foundation there, what else can you do? We can do a lot. And we've learned that there's a lot of problems that customers have that Mark alluded to that we can solve, or at least make a lot simpler, by infusing this technology into what was previously a useful tool of a work body, but now it's more intelligent, and it grows with the intelligence of the vehicle it's on.
Yeah, and I think a lot of things we found out really, whether it was EV, ICE, doesn't really matter. There are a lot of things across the body and across different powertrains that were the same problems that you could solve with the same control system. So, those are the types of things that we uncover and work through. So maybe there's some specific nuance to an EV, but the same solution would apply across all powertrains. It doesn't really matter. It's fairly agnostic and kind of agnostic to bodies if you think about it as well. It doesn't really matter.
Well, and that's the beauty of EAVX. You're solving for an industry, really. When you break it down what you're doing, you're in front of this so much. This innovation could be applied to so many other people's that are experiencing this type of pain in the process.
Definitely. And the other thing too that James kind of touched on it too, the power behind us is our current business units. If you look at JB Poindexter across North America, the beauty of EAVX is we span across that business. And so, the partnerships that we can create in terms of bringing new technology into the marketplace, we can support it with relationships between different business units. So maybe it's a product that Morgan Olson produces, but we can service it through a Reading Truck Center. So it's being able to see what is needed to bring some of this technology forward, whether it's a chassis and or things that we do, and then lever the rest of JB Poindexter to make it actually commercially available.
Yeah, 100%. It's all about collaboration. You guys live it every day. We see it firsthand, and thanks for including us in your guys' story, because we love working with these guys. This guy group, hey, shout out, go check these guys out. I don't know if this thing works. I don't know. This is the guy. So I appreciate you guys being difference makers in the industry and everything you guys are doing. It's really cool to see you guys share your craft and your passion for what we're doing, and I just can't wait to see. If you guys are already down to the windshield level, I can't wait to see like a rear view mirror innovation or mirror innovation, not rear, whatever.
There's a few of those. If you come down to the booth, you can see it.
Oh, you've got some more down there? Oh, was that a lead-in?
Yeah.
Was that an accidental lead-in?
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Oh, my gosh. These guys, I tell you what, thank you so much, Mark.
Ryan, thank you.
James, we appreciate you guys.
Thank you.